What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Hot Take Tuesday. Episode 10 of Season 2 is officially here with 7 hot takes for you from the Discord server. And we will be ranking them on a scale from icy hot, I just said icy hot, dear goodness gracious. Ice to piping hot. Ice meaning it's realistic, it's probably going to happen. Not really hot, we're expecting it. Piping hot means take a chill pill. You're getting a little wild. It's not gonna happen. It's not really that realistic. So let's not waste too much more of your time. I want to get into these hot takes, and the first hot take here is by Red the Rat. And if you do enjoy this kind of content, these kind of videos, you getting involved, make sure you like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on so you don't miss out on any future videos. Join the Discord if you'd like to be featured in Hot Take Tuesday in the future. And our like goal is 12 for this premiere. So let's not waste too much more of your time. Let's officially get into it. Red the Rat has his first hot take here with Shaq Leonard has the best linebacker year of all time. Now, I think there is only one other linebacker in history that you could really put up to Shaquille Leonard's rookie year, and that is Patrick Willis. You look at Patrick Willis' stats and what he did year one, just like, damn, yeah, he had a pretty damn good year. You know, he's kind of like the Darius Leonard of 2007, 2008 he was drafted. He set the bar, and Shaquille Leonard came in and he kind of crushed it, you know. Patrick Willis had 8 tackles for losses. He had like 173 total tackles. He was dynamic his first year. No interceptions. He did have 4 sacks, so he didn't make quite the impact. But let's read off of what Darius Leonard did his rookie year. So, Darius Leonard, Shaquille Leonard, apologies. 119 solo tackles, was good for first in the NFL. 34 assist tackles, good for third in the NFL, tied. 4 forced fumbles, 7 sacks. He allowed a 94.2 pass rating and had 2 interceptions, 12 tackles for losses, and at the end of the year, he took home the Defensive Player of the Year award. Shaquille Leonard, man, how many players come in and just make the impact that he made right away? Shaquille Leonard came in, worked his rear end off, and he immediately rose to the occasion to be the best linebacker that the Indianapolis Colts have now. Possibly the best we may have, that we've ever had in a few years. He's so dynamic. He's, you know, opposing offenses, you know, offensive coordinators, they have to play this game around this guy. He's a game wrecker. He will force fumbles. He will give the ball back to the offense and give the offense a shot. He makes the biggest plays in the most important moments. And he doesn't just make that big of an impact on the field. He makes a huge impact off the field as well. He's, you know, he's a talker. He gets the locker room going. And he knows what he's worth. He knows who he is and how good he could be as long as he works. He knows how good this team could be. He's a great leader, great locker room guy. You could not have gotten a better pick in the second round than what you got with Shaquille Leonard. Beecher Report, I'm talking to you. The worst pick in the draft. Yeah, okay. Why don't you come and revisit that article now? Yeah, or you now. That's what I thought. All right, Red Rat. I'm giving you, Red the Rat, I'm giving you, for this one, let's see what I wrote down. I'm giving you Chili because I think Shaquille Leonard definitely had the best rookie year of all time for a linebacker. So I'm with you on that one. I can get with that. I can agree with that. Number 2. Hot take number 2. It's from K in the building. Jets won't make the playoffs. So the Aaron Rodgers experiment has failed, according to this. Haven't made the playoffs. Maybe last in our division. Maybe the Patriots finish ahead of them. Not if the Patriots finish ahead of them. That's going to be pretty rough. But you look at this Jets team. They're a pretty good team. I think this is a warm take. Like, it's okay. I could see them not making it. But it's not. Yeah, they're absolutely not making it. They're not going to make it. You're crazy. I think I could see them not making it because of them having a slow start. Aaron Rodgers being on a new team. You know, it may take a few weeks for him to click with some of these weapons, with the system, learn the terminology a little bit, and that might just be enough to let another team sneak into the playoffs in the AFC. The AFC is so crowded. Now, if they're in the NFC, if this Jets team was in the NFC with Aaron Rodgers, I'd say they're making it in the playoffs. There's a good chance that they make it to the conference championship. It still wouldn't be an easy path because you have the Cowboys, Eagles, and Niners to go through. All those teams are going to be powerhouses next year. So saying the Jets won't make the playoffs, I think it's warm. I think it's fair. I can understand why. I can understand it. If they don't make it, I'll be like, okay, it's not that out of this world crazy. It's understandable. New quarterback, and maybe the next year, that's when this team really clicks, and that's when they make the playoffs and they make some noise. Because you look at the division as well. Could they make the playoffs, win the division? If you win the division, you're probably going to have 12, 13, or even more wins. You're going to have the Bills, who Josh Allen can be very good. I do think the Bills are going to take a step back. I also really like what the Dolphins are building on the offense and defensive side. A lot of people saying Jalen Ramsey's older, yeah, but Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard. They also drafted Cam Smith. Javon Holland is in the safety. I think Jalen Phillips is going to pop off, really kill it. Patriots, I think they're going to be last. I think it's fair to have them last. Have the Jets at 3. Will the Jets finish above the Dolphins and the Bills? Two teams that have had these quarterbacks for a couple of years. It's a matter of fact if Josh Allen could stay consistent, which he could, but he's got to find a way to be more accurate and be more reliable. And same thing with Tua. It's a little different with his reliability. Can he stay healthy? Can he get up here right? Because one more concussion, and yeah, he should probably hang the cleats up. But saying the Jets won't make the playoffs, it's not shenanigans. It's not wild. It's something that I can see happening. But I'm giving this warm. I could definitely see a scenario where they don't make it. You look at other divisions, the AFC North. I could possibly see that whole division making the playoffs. It's, the Steelers are going to be very good this year. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Steelers and the Browns. I think the Browns, if Deshaun Watson's going to knock off some of that rust, watch out for the Browns. They are a sleeper. I know everyone's going to say the Browns are going to do the Cleveland Browns, but watch out. If Deshaun Watson keeps on knocking off that rust and he gets back to 70% of what he was before, this Cleveland Browns team will be at playoffs. You heard it here first. Then, of course, the Ravens, the Bengals, those two teams are probably going to be atop that division. It just goes to show, you go to the AFC, probably going to get the Chiefs. Chargers are, sometimes you get them in, sometimes you don't. You don't know. Do I think the Jets will make it over the Chargers? I would think the Jets would beat the Chargers, which would give them that. So I think the Jets, if it came between the Jets and the Chargers, I would say the Jets will take it. I'd take the Jets over the Chargers. I like Justin Herbert, but they just have to find a way to win. That's what they're struggling with. I guess we'll see what they do this year. The Raiders and the Broncos, I don't see the Broncos and Russell Wilson having that kind of year that other people are expecting. Raiders have one of the worst defenses and just aren't a great football team. You have the AFC South, you're probably getting the Jaguars out of the division, or the Titans, probably the Jaguars. So that's a crappy division. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets make it. Wouldn't be completely shocked if they didn't. So, yeah, let's move on to the next hot take here. Our next hot take is from Tones. Both New York teams finished below 500. So, yeah, we're really getting some slander to these New York teams today. Other than Buffalo, I think a lot of, even I forget that, there's 3 teams in New York. Well, technically, there's actually 1 because the Jets and the Giants stadium, they play in New Jersey. So it depends on how you want to look at it. Their names are New York, so I'm going to say they're New York. But their stadiums are in New Jersey. So say you have 3. Now, I'm making this way more complicated. But both New York teams finished below 500. We know which one team means. The Jets and the Giants. I think if there is a team that would be more likely to do it, it's the Giants. Now, we just talked about the Jets. I think they'd be a great football team. They have great cast around Rodgers. The defense is going to be solid. They have a head coach that's just going to get better from a great system in Kyle Shanahan. And now you move over to the New York Giants. You like a lot of what the Giants are building. They have a great head coach, one of the best head coaches in the National Football League. He will be towards the top in a year or two. Daniel Jones. I know Daniel Jones has top... Yes, you're going to hear this from me. Daniel Jones has top 10 quarterback play in him. That might be a hot take in within itself. But, and we've seen what he has done. We've seen what he's capable of. He's one of the best deep balls in the NFL. And he's gotten better every single year. If he could get better this year, start actually producing more. He is a bit better of a supporting cast. Waller's much better. Now Barkley might be much more hurt, but he will have the best offensive line he's ever had in his career. He will have much better receivers. Now, if Saquon Barkley doesn't play, we'll talk a little bit about that later. Saquon Barkley, if he doesn't play, I think it could make a difference on Daniel Jones. I think it really could. But we'll see. You know, Daniel Jones, as I'm saying, if I'm going to say he has top 10 quarterback play in him, I know it sounds kind of wild, but I think it's possible that Daniel Jones is either... I think it's either going to be Daniel Jones is going to really take that next step and finally get some production, or he's just going to bomb it. He's going to do horrible, but maybe there's a middle ground in there. Maybe there is, but Daniel Jones has to prove to me that he can produce in the air. He has to prove it to me. I get it. His weapons haven't been there. You know, I think Daniel Jones is one of those quarterbacks that if you put the right team around him, he can bring you to the championship. Could he win it for you? That's a whole nother story. I guess we will see. But I think if there is a team that is more likely to finish below 500, I think it's the Giants. So, but in general, both of these teams to finish below 500, I'm gonna go hot because I think both of these teams have some great talent. It's just a matter of fact, you know, when is it going to click? When is it going to work? When is it really going to really start just popping off? Really start firing on all cylinders? That's kind of the question with both of these teams. So, Daniel Jones will have another year under Brian Daboll's system. Daniel Jones is a very good runner as well. Don't forget that. Offensive line is much better. Defense, the defensive line is very good. The rest of the defense, I think, is a bit lackluster. I like the Deonte Banks draft pick. He fits that scheme perfectly. But I guess we will see what this defense can turn into and what Daniel Jones becomes. It's ultimately up to Daniel Jones whether this team is above 500 or not. I honestly believe that. If Daniel Jones, I mean, the defense, you know, as I'm saying, the rest of the defense is lackluster. That might hurt, but that's another thing, you know, if there's a team out there that is going to stop Daniel Jones in that offense, considering, you know, they don't really have weapons, you know, their wide receivers aren't really great. Paris Campbell, a lot of praise for him. You do have the receiver, I think Jalen Hyatt, they got from Tennessee. There's a lot to like about this Giants team, but, you know, there's so many what ifs. There's so many scenarios where you go, this has to happen. This will need to happen. And especially when you have one of those questions at quarterback, I think that makes it a bit more foggy, a little more difficult to predict. But considering that defense isn't great, I think that can shave off a few wins from the win column. And, you know, I think the Giants are the team that goes below 500, but I'm saying hot because I think that I'm pretty high in the New York Jets, and I think the Jets will finish above 500, whether they make the playoffs or not. So, all right, now we're going to move on from this hot take. We rated it hot. Number 4, Joshua Kissinger. Anthony Richardson plays 60% of the snaps, and Minshew plays 40%. You know, Irsay has lately, oh my gosh, I'm struggling to talk this time. So, Irsay came out a few days ago. He was on the Pat McAfee show, and he said that Anthony Richardson needs to play to get better. From those words, I am expecting Anthony Richardson to start week 1, September 10th. He's going to try it out there and play the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think Jim Irsay is going to accept Gardner Minshew running out there in week 1. I don't think Irsay wants to see that. I don't think he'll be too happy, or it just won't rub him the right way. And I think, considering he said that and, you know, the state of the franchise, I see Anthony Richardson starting right away. Now, will Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen agree with this? I don't know. Probably not. But at the end of the day, who employs those guys? Jim Irsay. Jim Irsay has the final say, and if they don't want, if they say absolutely not, and Jim Irsay doesn't like that, and he demands Richardson starts, Anthony Richardson's going to start. But should he sit? I don't know. That's a tough question. If he had a little more experience, I'd say, yeah, sit him. Now that might sound weird, but considering he only played 13 games in college, 12 last year, I feel like he needs to just play and get that experience under his belt, because there's only so much you can learn on the sideline with the clipboard and watching the game. When you really learn is when you get out onto that field and just see what they got. And if they crumble under their pressure, their confidence is destroyed, I want to see if that quarterback can come back from it and stay strong. I think that's another very important, I think that's a big thing that not many people talk about. Now, maybe when you destroy a young quarterback's confidence and all that stuff, sure, you could blame the franchise, but at the end of the day, everyone has to take accountability for their own actions and why things are happening. So if Anthony Richardson, or if a quarterback goes out there and doesn't play well, the confidence is destroyed, yeah, it's somewhat the team's fault, but I think it's also the player that needs to say, hey, I need to step up, I need to work harder, I need to keep going at it. I can't let this stop me. I think a bit of it lies on the quarterback itself. So, even though it's a young player, he's being paid lots of money, and he's going to lead a football team. So to lead a football team, you have to be able to go through adversity, pick yourself up, and play the best you could, and not let the outside noise and whatever is happening affect you too long. Anthony Richardson, I fully believe Anthony Richardson is going to start week 1. So I'm going to say this one's hot just because I don't think Gardner Minshew is going to play, because Jim Irsay is not going to accept him going out there week 1. Now, if Anthony Richardson gets hurt, that's another story. But if Minshew does start, will he play that many games? Will he play almost half the games? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe, but that's what I mean with this Colts team. That's why I think people are a little too optimistic. There's too many questions in some of the most important positions, and I don't see how you could be so optimistic when you have a lot of things that you need to still figure out. The cornerbacks are young, all that stuff. So I'm gonna go hot with this one, but I think Anthony Richardson starts week 1. He's gonna play the whole season. Next hot take we have here is from LCCJS27. JT will have a better season than his 2021 season. Now, the 2021 season that Jonathan Taylor had was absolutely wild. Now, the offensive line wasn't what it was prior to that year with a Carson Wentz. That was a Carson Wentz year. It wasn't as good as it was the prior years. But Jonathan Taylor was insane. He was fully healthy. You had a quarterback that can make teams respect that he can throw the ball deep. Was it active? Was it efficient? Was it great? No, but you still had to respect the fact that Carson Wentz could throw deep. And Carson Wentz can move a little bit, so that definitely helped him as well. Last year, offensive line was horrible. He was struggling with injuries. The quarterback couldn't move. It's a very tough situation for a running back to have a very good season. Not many running backs could do that. One of the few, Saquon Barkley, actually did it. Just how bad that team was then. But you look at the times Jonathan Taylor has had to face adversity. Let's look at the Cardinals game when the whole offensive line was out. Half the wide receivers were out. Half the team was out. Jonathan Taylor still had an incredible game, even though the whole offensive line was out, and I think that's impressive. Now, he's going to be healthy. He has the offseason. He has something to prove. He wants that contract. I don't know if he is as good as the 2021 season as, in this year coming up. Anthony Richardson is going to help him, but hurt him at the same time, production-wise. Richardson's going to run it more. And he's going to take it more often than Matt Ryan would, obviously. And it's going to help open things up for Jonathan Taylor, considering he has the cannon that we talked about with Carson Wentz. He is an elite athlete, so teams are going to have to respect Anthony Richardson on the ground and deep. And that's going to help open things up for Jonathan Taylor. But that's also going to take some carries away from Jonathan Taylor. Having Anthony Richardson take some of those carries away, it's going to make it difficult for Jonathan Taylor to have as good as a season that he did in 2021. That season, when you run a running back that much, there's a problem. The passing game isn't consistent enough. The offense isn't consistent as a whole. There are more issues than what it may seem like. And we saw that in the Raiders and the Jaguars games down the stretch of the season. So, will JT have a better season than his in 2021? I was going to go piping hot, but I think hot is fair. I think it's very unlikely. I'm not going to say you're crazy. I'm not going to say there's no way. He has a talent and he has the ability to do so. But I think considering what you have at quarterback, you know, he's a running back. You know, Anthony Richardson's a running. Jonathan Taylor's a running back. You know, yeah, the offensive line will be better. I don't think it's going to be bad as last year. I don't think you could get that bad again. And if it does, then yikes, it's going to be rough. But Anthony Richardson's ability, you know, his athletic ability also helps with the offensive line because he makes that defensive line stay disciplined. You can't just go all willy-nilly and go crazy in the pass rush lines. You have to stay disciplined and try and see where he's going to go and predict. But I don't think JT will have the 2021 season unless something goes horribly wrong and Jonathan Taylor is running 90% each game. And I just don't think it happens. Now, Shane Steichen does like to run the ball. He was a ground and pounding. He did like to ground and pound with Philadelphia. And if Jonathan Taylor gets a lot of carries, all right. You know, I think there's a chance he does, but I think it's very unlikely to have the season that he had in 2021. That season was just wild. All right. Moving on to number 6. We have 2 left. This one is from Silver Sabs. Chris Olave becomes more productive than Garrett Wilson for the 2023 season. So Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, battle of the Ohio State receivers, right? Let's look at their situations. Olave, I think the Saints are going to try and spread the ball around more than the Jets will. Now, the Saints are a team that like to run the ball. They like to ground and pound. They have a great offensive line. And they may not be looking to pass as much as the Jets are, considering, you know, the Jets, you know, they do have a better quarterback. I think Rodgers is much better than Derek Carr. But if you look at who the Saints have to throw to, who Derek Carr has to throw to, you have Alvin Kamara, who won't be there in the beginning of the season. He's going to face some kind of suspension, probably going to be 5 to 8 games. That's what I'm expecting. Kendry Miller is a rookie running back out of TCU. He's going to be there when Alvin Kamara is not. And when Kamara comes back, it's just going to be another weapon. Michael Thomas, if he can stay healthy, James Washington. You have Keith Kirkwood, Kiki Cutie. There's a lot of receivers in this receiver room that are, you know, they provide great depth to this room. It's a nice depth room. Even though Kiki Cutie and some of these guys may be more of a special teams guy, but I think the Saints aren't going to be throwing it as much as the Jets will be, so I don't think Chris Olave will be as productive as Garrett Wilson. And you look at Garrett Wilson's situation, yeah, there are some pretty good receivers over there too. You have Allen Lazard, Mecole Hardman, Corey Davis, Randall Cobb. Then you have Garrett Wilson, the running backs. You have, I am blanking on his name, but he was very good last year, had the ACL tear. Breece Hall, Michael Carter. So, and, you know, yeah, you could say Robert Saleh is probably going to run the ball a lot as well. But Garrett Wilson is the kind of receiver that Aaron Rodgers loves. He's a bigger receiver. He's not that small. He's a decent route runner. He's good hands. There's a lot to love about Garrett Wilson. He's good. You know, he can separate. He's smart. And Aaron Rodgers loves those kind of receivers. I'm not saying that Corey Davis, Hardman, Cobb, that they can't separate two of things, but Wilson's much younger and much more just more refined. Not refined because he's still young, he's still learning, but I think he's got much more potential. And especially with the kind of receiver he is, Rodgers loves that kind of receiver. So would not be surprised with Wilson having a much more productive season than Chris Olave. I like Olave, and coming out, I thought he was a better receiver, but I think Garrett Wilson will be the more productive receiver this year. So with this, I don't think, you know, I'm not going to say you're crazy for, I'm not going to say anyone's crazy. You know, I could see Chris Olave being more productive. I just think the situation, you know, given the situations, I think Garrett Wilson will be the more productive receiver. Chris Olave being more productive. I'm going to go warm. I think it's unlikely, but, you know, it's not too unlikely. It could definitely happen. Alrighty. last hot take of the evening. If you have enjoyed so far, make sure you like, subscribe, put that post notification bell on so you don't miss any future, anything like this. Yeah, man, join the Discord so you could be involved in things like this in the future. Become a member. Members will get first in line, for events. I am gonna start asking the members next week. I should have done that. I should have been already doing that. I just thought of it. Why am I not asking my members? So Marsh, you'll be in it next week. I promise. So Gold 4307. Saquon Barkley decides not to sit out the entire season. We all know the running back situation right now. We've seen Jonathan Taylor react, Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard. And, Tony Pollard was one of them that didn't get the deal. But, yeah, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, and Saquon Barkley not get the deals they want. So, will Barkley sit out the entire season? At first, I thought Barkley wasn't going to play for the Giants again. I didn't think he would be in a... I did not think we would ever see him on the field in a Giants uniform again. But I think Barkley is a smart human being. I think he's a reasonable human being. I think he will play this season. After a while, for a while, I was saying he wasn't. Now, we'll see. Training camps are coming up. We'll see if he shows up to training camp, if he's active for preseason games, all that stuff. We'll see then. But my thoughts right now is Saquon Barkley is smart. And this team is better than it has ever been since he's been here. The offensive line is better. Daniel Jones is getting better every year. The defense is questionable. That doesn't really have much to do with Saquon. You have a great coach. I think Barkley will play this season. I think he's going to play because he realizes that, hey, let's just go out there and play. Let's go out there and play the game I love, because if you miss a year, your value is only going to go down. Your value isn't going to go any higher if you sit out a whole year. It just doesn't make sense. Any player that sits out an entire year of football, unless you're a quarterback like Lamar Jackson or what actually happened to Deshaun Watson, doesn't lose any value, but a running back sitting out a year, that's really going to hit the value. So if Saquon Barkley sits out a year, his value is just going to plummet even worse. And it may take a while before teams actually sign him just because he's a running back. He sat out a year. We saw what happened with Le'Veon Bell. I don't think Barkley's stupid. Barkley knows better. I don't see him not playing this year. I think he's going to play. I think he's going to say, hey, all right. And then this is another thing. If he goes out there and he's playing like one of the best backs in the league, if not the best, he's rushing for 100 yards every game, rushing for a touchdown. He's receiving the ball well. He's doing everything. He's just being an incredible player. I said the Giants give him a nice 3-4 year deal in the middle of the season. But I think where it hurts is if you have a quarterback on a rookie deal and you're not paying him a lot of money, I think it's okay to go ahead and pay a running back a lot of money over a couple of years, because that running back, even if you only get 2 good years out of him and that running back helps your quarterback develop, gives him a weapon, gives him a safety valve, just gives him something that he can rely on, that he could, say, hey, let's run the ball here. You got this. Or, hey, I'm going to throw this to you. And then the running back helps him out, helps in the development. I think, if you pay a running back $16 million a year and you only get 2 years out of the 14, but that running back helps your quarterback become the franchise quarterback and the quarterback that's going to bring you someplace, I think it's absolutely worth it. But now that the Giants are paying a quarterback $40 million a year, I don't think you could pay Barkley what he wants. I heard that they offered Barkley $13 a year. The fact that he turned that down, he is not getting another offer like that. He is not getting another offer similar to that. I can tell you that right now. He's not getting $16 million. He's had injury issues as well. You can't just look past the injuries. You can't just look past the ACL tears, the ankle issues. You can't look past that stuff. And if you go back to Todd Gurley, his knees were gone, right? He had a few ACL tears. Saquon Barkley just had an ACL tear. And I'm not saying Barkley's going to turn out like Todd Gurley. I'm not saying he's going to go down that path. But considering he's already had a major injury to his ACL, I think that's I think that's another. I think that's something that you should look into more. That you have to consider more, because it means it's a shorter lifespan. It's a shorter time that running back may be able to be at the top of his game. And we're already talking about running backs. Even, a lot of times they don't even, by the time they hit 27, they're not even as good. Their life expectancy isn't good to start with. By the time you hit 27, boom, no one cares about you. You're a running back. Move on, draft running back. Just how the NFL works. And, from what we've seen from signing running backs to big deals, tons of money, majority of the time, they just don't work out. So teams are looking at that and they're like, The Giants are looking at it like, Saquon's had some injuries. He tore his ACL. Now we're paying our quarterback for him $40 million a year. I kind of get where the Giants are coming from. And the fact that they still offered him 13 because they know how good he is and they're giving him the benefit of the doubt. But Saquon Barkley didn't want it. So, I'm going to go. Saquon Barkley decides not to sit out the year, so he's saying he's going to play. I'm going to go warm because I think it's unlikely. I don't know. Warm, cool. I can't really rank this one because I'm kind of in the middle. I'll say he's going to play, though. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to say he'll play, so I'll go cold. Saquon decides not to sit out, so he's going to play. I'll say cold. I think it's somewhat like he plays, but I think there's that unlikelihood that's still sitting there that he won't play, unfortunately. But it's don't hate the player, hate the game. It's just how the NFL has become. They don't want to pay running backs big time money, and teams that have won the Super Bowl over the past, since 2009. I think there's a graphic since the Saints won it. There's one or two running backs on the list that were actually paid over $1 million a year that year that they won the Super Bowl. So, the evidence is there that teams don't need to pay a running back premium, $10 to $13 million a year to be a championship team and win it all. Does it help? It can help in certain situations with certain backs, but you guys let me know what you think about all these hot takes. I'm giving this one cool. Thank you for tuning into the JDW Sports Talk Show, where we fans welcome. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, this premiere of Hot Take Tuesday, episode 10 of season 2. Hope you guys are enjoying it. This is the JDW Sports Talk Show. Shining off.